this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today with another fun fold. I really enjoy making them at the moment. And when I saw this one on Sam Calcott's YouTube channel, I thought I'll have a go at it. She actually found that the design was possibly created by Inky Inspirations, so I'm going to link to her card as well, but she's got different measurements and I have taken over the measurements that Sam uses, but I will show you in a moment how I create the mats, and I think it's a little bit easier the way that I worked it out. I'm just leaving this here for a second. I'm just zooming in slightly. These are the measurements, so just in case you want to take a screenshot, you can do that now. For the card base, I'm zooming in now so you can see my measurements. For the card base, you need a piece of card that is 10 inches by 7 inches, and you score and burnish that at 5 inches. I have already prepared most of my pieces. I did this off camera yesterday because I just really want to show you the main mechanism. And then you need some pattern paper, 3 of the pieces. You can mix and match that. I have used the same one, and these pieces are all 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. Because this is a card for my husband for his birthday, which is tomorrow, it's a card that my cat gives to him because I've already made him a card. I bought this pattern paper because my husband's name is Robin, and I don't know if you know that Robin's one of the characters in Batman. And when I saw this paper in the local craft shop, it was just £1 for 6 sheets. I just thought I'll get that, so I put that on the inside and on the outside. For the inside, by the way, although it's sort of not continuous here, I made sure I cut it on the same height. I didn't mind using up all the paper. If you have less obvious paper, obviously you can cut it from different pieces. So, and then let me zoom in again without making you dizzy. Then you need an insert piece. I call it sort of a cradle piece. This is 9.5 inches by 6.5, and you score this at 4 3/4. I will show you in a moment how we will cut this. And then you need 4 popper pieces. These are 2 inches by 1.5, and you score these at 1/2, 1 and 1.5. And what you're creating is basically this M shape, and we need these two for the cradle piece to be popped up. I didn't burnish these, I just pressed them down depending on the weight of your cardstock. I would suggest for the inside not to have super heavy cardstock, so no 300 GSM, but you can go up to like 230, I think. Then you need 2 long strips that are 9 inches by, well, they don't have to be 1.5. I chose the same as Sam has. If you change the height of these here, then you won't have squares. I'll show you what it looks like. So you're creating 6 squares. So if you have that higher, obviously they will be rectangles, which is fine. And then the mats here change as well, but also the measurements how we cut this. So that's really up to you. If you've got higher letters, for example, you could change that. So, but the scoring stays the same. So you score these at 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6 and 7.5. Said I've already done that, and you score them, or sorry, burnish them, so that you've got a valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley, and the outer pieces, they sort of facing upwards like this. That's important not to get that wrong in the end. So, and I don't know if I mentioned you need 2 of those, one for the top, one for the bottom. And then the matting layers, my pattern cardstock again, I just use the same paper. You need 12 pieces that are 1 1/4 square. So just show you these. I die cut some letters from this fancy mirror cardstock, and I don't know, again, if you know Robin, you know that. Robin in Batman is called the Boy Wonder, and I know that my husband used to be called that by his mates, so I thought that was very apt, and it fitted perfectly into those 12 squares. But obviously you can do anything. You know, you could even do, if you want to do a happy birthday, you could even put a happy there and a little star or heart or something. You don't need to fill them all. As I said, if you've got higher letters, you can do that. You don't need to have letters on there. You can just have pattern paper. That's really up to you. So I show you now how we cut that cradle piece. Let me just zoom in on that again. So I will tell you the measurements and then I'll show you how I cut it. So on the folded piece, that's the folded, yeah, we've got it folded here. So you need to put a mark at 3 1/4, which is the middle from 6 1/2. And on the outer side, sorry, I need to zoom out really. On the outer side, you put in a mark at 1 1/2 and at 5. And the 3 1/4 mark from there, you extend by 1/2 inch. I will have to do that with my ruler as well. I try to do it in a scoreboard. Sam does it in a scoreboard. That doesn't really work for me. So I quickly do this off camera and then I'll show you how we mark the cut lines. A little tip to get that 1/2 inch in correctly, you know, so you don't get your ruler wonky. I've got the 3 1/4 mark here, and I'm actually aligning my ruler here. I'm on 6 here, so I'm going down to 5 1/2 and I'm putting a dot there. So, and now we're connecting this little dot 1/2 inch from that mark to the 5 inch mark and to the 1 1/2. Keeping that card, you don't have to keep the card folded, but you need to keep it folded when we're cutting it because we're doing that in one go. So, and now you can take your scissors and cut along there. I don't know if the camera picks it up. So again, a reason not to have super heavy cardstock, so you can actually cut through both layers. So I left it in the real time, so it doesn't take too long. So now we've got this shape. So I've gone ahead and I've tested some metal layers, but I'm just testing them on here whether they actually fit, and then I'll tell you the measurements. I thought I had to figure it out so many times. It took me so long to work this out. Eventually I got there. I actually rescued the pieces I hadn't cut quite right, and now I figured it out for you. So for the layers, you need 2 pieces that are 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. And you mark 1 1/4 inch from the bottom on this side and 1 1/4 inch from the top, and you connect these with a line. You may need to make sure that your 2 pieces are face to face because you need to cut them at different angles, and then you cut them at the same time. I just used my scissors and you cut along that line. And then if you haven't done it wrong, or I haven't given you wrong instructions, then these pieces fit onto here and give you an even border, and you've got that layer right. So in the end, I don't know whether Sam Calcott actually did it the same way as well, because I didn't quite remember how she did it, but these now fit on here, and by having them face to face, they do all face the right way up. They don't match up here, but that doesn't matter because we've got the layers on there anyway. So I'm going to glue those down, and then I'll show you how we assemble the card. I can now take my popper pieces and glue them down onto this panel. So I'm making sure the sort of mountains face that way and the valley faces this way, and I'm just putting glue on one side, and then they just get glued on here in the middle. Sure they're straight. Trying to pop that in the same place as in line with the other one. And then I'm doing the same on the other side, again, the mountain facing the fold. Don't know whether that matters, but I made sure I wrote this down as Sam does it. And these give quite a bit of bulk to the card, so it's not a card to be necessarily sent in the post unless you put it in a box envelope. But my cat will hand deliver this. Sorry, paw deliver this. So I'm leaving that to dry for a moment. And then, in the meantime, I'll show you my embellishments. Sam, she uses big embellishments here. She connects the two pieces. I wasn't quite sure yet whether I want to connect them, but because my cat's giving the card, I've got these dies here. I've recently shown them in a video, bought them specially for a birthday card. And I have, sorry about the rummaging noises here, I've cut all my cats twice because this is fairly thin cardstock and I wanted to back them. But I also wanted to show you what I've done for the eyes. Because at least the standing ones, these don't, they have got holes for the eyes and the nose. And I popped this with a piece of copy paper that I used my markers on, and I just wanted to show you how I figured this out. So this cat is almost done except for me putting the back on. So what I did was, let me just put some scrap paper underneath as well. I used the die cut that I'm not putting in the front, so the one that goes in the back, and then I used my marker and just poked through the eyes there and the nose. So, and now I know exactly where I need to put the ink, so I'm just extending that a little bit there. So if I'm not placing it quite correctly, I've still got this here. So I can now cut this out and then glue this onto the bits here. I can move it around a little bit, making sure it fits again, and I've got the green and the pink. And then I can, sorry, not with this one obviously, but with the one that goes on the front, and then I can pop this one on the back. I can now glue the cradle into the card, so I need to make sure that the score lines of the cradle and the card base are aligned. I can actually move it up like this, and I'm also making sure that I've got the same amount of space at the top and the bottom here. So, and then all I need to do is put glue onto those tabs. It is a bit tricky to get this down properly. I'm trying to do that at the same time. You need to hold those flat. I will actually turn the card round like this, and again paying attention to the score line, and then I can press them down. So you want a fairly quick glue for that to grab. And then I can do the other side too. So I'm holding these down, and this time actually try to close the card. If I haven't done it incorrectly, this should close. It does. So you can see the bulk I have from those pop-up pieces. But that's okay for me. So I'm leaving that to dry for a moment, see if I've got anything heavy to put on top. Maybe my die cutting plates here. And then I'll show you how we insert these, and in the meantime I will also cut the happy birthday sentiment and potentially a little with love sentiment. A little warning, I suggest you decorate your front before you put the inner piece in. It was really difficult for me to press the die cuts down here. So I'll put a happy birthday on the front there, and then the with love at the bottom, and this cat is sleeping on it. For this one here, because the indentations of the die didn't work that well, I just used an acrylic marker to mark the eyes there. It's not perfect, but I think it's okay that way. And it will be displayed anyway, this card, so this is what we'll see. So now we can glue these pieces in. So you put glue on the outer square here. And this sits right against the corner here. Make sure it's straight so that it lines up nicely here. So I'm doing the same at the bottom. So aligning it here on this corner, but before I press it down, I will actually have a look that it's straight. So the score lines, they won't match. That's part of the pop-up mechanism. So I'm waiting for it to dry just a little bit. So, and then you can put glue on this square, and this gets attached here, and it will pull this cradle up a bit. And this is why you need like a quick grab glue. Don't want a glue that takes a long time to dry. Again, I'm trying to line it up there. Yeah, I think that's fine. So, and then all I need to do is attach my two cats. So I will actually put them a little bit closer to the middle. If you've got bigger embellishments, you could put them like this. I could put some cardstock behind it and have them sit on there. Let me just test this, because I do have some scraps of red left. But no, I don't like that. I think I would just put one here and one here. So I will put a little bit of glue just on the head, maybe just the ears and the paws at the bottom, and then I think that will be my finished card. So I won't do this now. I will do this now and just show you the finished card in a second. So here's the outside again, and when the recipient opens it up, it sits like this, and you've got this sort of cradle look. I think the other one, Concertina did a little bit more. I don't know why that is, because this one, can you see, sits a bit wider. I hope I haven't got any measurements wrong. I'll just check again. But yeah, it's a nice card anyway. Maybe the effect is different if you don't have all the same pattern paper. I just wanted to use this up for this one card, and I will probably use my last sheet to create an envelope for this. But yeah, I think this is a great card. Well done, my cat, for commissioning this card. He's snoozing away whilst I've got all the hard graft, but never mind. So yeah, I think this is a nice idea and suitable for many occasions, and it is a proper showstopper card. I think that is fairly easy to make, except for working out those matting layers. Yeah, if you like this tutorial, please like, subscribe, comment and share. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.